Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Prasanna from the Department of Agronomy from School of Agriculture, SR University, Warangal. Today, I'm going to discuss about the topic allelopathy, which is an important topic in the weed management. So, first coming to the contents in the PPT. So, the first one is what is allelopathy? Next is which crops shows allelopathy? And the next topic is factors affecting allelopathy. And the third is factors affecting production of allelochemicals. And the next one is types of allelopathy, forms of allelopathic interactions, source of allelochemicals, chemical nature of allelochemicals, and allelochemicals are released in the forms of. Next is liberation of allelochemicals. And the next is extraction of allelochemicals from plants and development of herbicides from allelochemicals. So let's come to the introduction of allelopathy. First, allelopathy means it is the release of chemicals from one plant to the other and the detrimental effect of that chemicals on the growth and development of the other plants. So allopathy was coined by the scientist Molish in the year 1937, and he also given the definition of allopathy as allopathy refers to all biochemical interactions that is either stimulatory or inhibitory among plants, including microorganisms also. And another scientist has given the definition of allelopathy as the direct or indirect or detrimental effect of plants to its neighboring plants or the plant itself by the secretion of some kind of chemical substance. And this phenomenon is called allelopathy. So, in simple words, allelopathy means one plant secretes some kind of chemicals that may be harmful or that may be useful to other plant. Mainly, allopathy suppresses the growth of other plants. So, allelochemicals are released from one plant, and that is harmful to the other plant. And allopathy is a Greek word, and allopathy is derived from two words, that is allelon, which means to each other, and pathos means to suffer. And allopathy can be also defined as a complex phenomenon that has unveiled both stimulatory and inhibitory effects in plant processes that are mediated by release of some kind of chemical substances, and that chemical substances are usually known as allelochemicals. And allelochemicals are majorly secondary metabolites that are released from the plants, and it is released by a diverse group of plants and microbes in response to the biotic and abiotic stress. The next is which crops shows allelopathic effects. So some of the crops mainly shows allelopathic effects, and we will learn which are the crops that are mainly showing allelopathic effects. So mainly oats. Oats seems to clean fields of weeds better than others. And the list also includes like lucerne, wheat, rice, sorghum, buckwheat, red clover, sweet clover. And what are the factors that are affecting the allelopathy? So some of the factors like varieties, specificity, autotoxicity, these are the factors that really affect allelopathy. Like range of the allelopathy will be decided by these factors. So first, let's go to varieties. There can be a great deal of difference in the strength of allelopathic effects between different crop varieties. So each crop variety will have different range of allelopathic effects on one plant. For example, one crop has greater uh, effect of allelopathy on one plant. In the same species, other plant may have less toxic effect of allelopathy. And next come to specificity. So here also one crop may be strongly allelopathic to one weed, the other crop may not be strongly allelopathic to the same weed. So it depends on the species also. Next is autotoxicity. Here autotoxicity means the plant For example, if we take wheat plant, it produces some kind of chemicals. It is harmful to the wheat plant itself. So self-toxicity. Autotoxicity, also called as self-toxicity, means one plant extracts. For example, wheat straw extracts are harmful to the wheat plant itself. So allopathic chemicals may suppress same species under autotoxicity, and lucerne is particularly known for this kind of autotoxicity. And one more example is toxic effect of wheat straw on following wheat crops is also well known. And next is factors affecting allelochemicals. So factors like light, mineral deficiency, drought stress, environmental stress, and uh, fertility of the soil. These are the factors that are affecting the allelochemicals. Mainly when there is a low fertility in the soil, it results in the greater production of allelochemicals. And in the warm conditions also, allelopathic effect will be less, and in cold, wet conditions, it will be more. And let's come to the next slide, that is about different types of allelopathy. So mainly there are two types of allelopathy. The first one is true type, second one is functional type. So when we come to true type, when one plant releases chemicals, that chemicals are directly toxic to the other plant. It need not need any kind of changes or modifications by uh, or microorganisms or by the plant. So when they are released, they are directly harmful to the other plants. So next we come to functional type. It refers to the release of environment or chemical compound that are toxic after chemical modification by microorganisms. So in the functional type, when that chemicals are released by the plant or the microorganisms, they need some kind of modification or changes done by the microorganisms. So when this plant releases this kind of chemicals, microorganisms will also release some kind of enzymes that will modify these uh, allochemicals and make it toxic for the other plants. So next we are going to learn about different forms of allelopathy. There are mainly four different types of forms of allelopathy. First is autoallelopathy. In this type of autoallelopathy, plant shows adverse effect on the plant belonging to the same species. Auto means same. So plants of Parthenium are releasing some kind of chemicals that are harmful to the Parthenium species itself. And wheat also, like as we already studied in the before slide, like wheat straw produces some kind of chemicals that are harmful to the wheat plant itself. And the next example is alpha alpha. This is also producing some kind of chemicals that are harmful to the next coming alpha alpha plant. So one generation of plant, when it is decayed and produce some kind of toxins, when that similar plant comes in the second generation, that chemicals are harmful to that species itself. So it is called autoallelopathy, and the examples include Parthenium species, next is wheat, and next is alpha alpha. And next is alloallelopathy. In this type of alloallelopathy, the produced biochemicals adversely affect on other plant growth and development. So it is causing effect on different species. Like sunflower is causing on weeds and maize on other weeds, like that. Next form is concurrent or direct allelopathy. It refers to the instantaneous and direct effect of released toxin from one plant to the another. So concurrent or direct means when that living plant is producing such kind of chemicals, that will show a direct effect, like with instant effect is shown on the other plant. So example of that is sorghum. So next is residual allelopathy. Residue, the word residue means it is it is a part that is after decaying or dried. So it is the effect obtained on the plants growing in succession from the decaying residues, leaf litter, stem, and roots of the previous plants. So when the leaf litter, stems, and roots of some previous plants are decayed, or become residues, they produce some kind of chemicals that are showing its allelopathic effect on the plants that grow after them. So, for example, sorghum straw contains higher C to N ratio, which causes adverse effect on growth and development of Phalaris minor after decaying. Okay, so when the sorghum plant is grown in specific place and it's harvesting, everything is done, and it becomes a residue there. So when you see Phalaris minor there, so that chemicals released from that residue of sorghum will cause serious effect on the Phalaris minor, and the Phalaris minor will be affected. And for your information, Phalaris minor is a weed that is also known as canary grass that is grown in wheat fields mainly, and it is a rabi season weed. And next is different forms of allelopathic interactions. So allelopathic interactions means how that plant to plant interaction is there, or weed to weed interaction is there, or weed to crop, or crop to weed. These are the different forms of interaction we can see in the allelopathy. So first one is weed against weed, next is crop against weed, third is weed against crop, and the fourth is crop against crop. So here first, if we see weed against weed, here weeds produce some kind of chemicals that are harmful only to the weeds. That means Parthenium is producing some kind of chemical that is harmful to the other species, and effect of several wasteland weeds on Parthenium. Here, first is Parthenium is showing some kind of chemicals and that are harmful to other weeds. And the next example is some wasteland weeds are there that also produce some kind of chemicals that is really harmful in the Parthenium growth. And here we are giving information about what are the species that are helpful in the suppression of some kind of weeds and how much suppression is done by these species. So first is Cassia auriculata. The mode of the extent is nearly moderate, and the percentage is 26 to 50 only. Next is Cida spinosa. The extent of suppression is moderate and the percentage is 26 to 50. And the third is Cassia accidentalis, and the extent of suppression will be very high as the percentage is 51 to 75%. And Amaranthus spinosus, the extent of suppression is high and it is between 51 to 75%. And Ipomia carnea, that is showing very high extent of suppression and the percentage is 76 to 100%. Next crop interaction is weeds against crops. So jangly palak affect the growth and development of wheat. So here weeds are producing some kind of toxic elements or toxic chemicals that are harmful for the growth and development of the croplands. So first example is jangly palak, that belongs to the Chenopodium family. Chenopodium produce some kind of chemicals that are affecting the growth and development of the wheat. So next is Cyprus rotundus, affects the growth of the sorghum. Next is Chenopodium album, affects the growth of alfalfa, cucumber, oats, and maize. Next is crops against weeds. So here, crops are producing some kind of allelochemicals that are harmful for the growth and development of the weeds. First example is root exudates of wheat, oats, and peas suppress Chenopodium. So here, root exudates of wheat means chemicals that are released from the roots are suppressing the wheat species. So root exudates of wheat, oats, and peas, these three crops are producing root exudates that are harmful for the Chenopodium species. And how these root exudates are affecting Chenopodium means it increases the catalase and peroxidase activity in the weeds and it will reduce the growth inside that Chenopodium. Next is cold water extract of wheat straw reduces growth of Ipomia and Abutilon. So in order to reduce the growth and development of Ipomia and Abutilon, cold water extract of wheat straw can be used, and it reduces the growth of both Ipomia and Artilan weeds. Next is crops against crop. So in this phenomenon, crops itself produce some kind of hormone, some kind of chemicals that are harmful to the other crops. So here, sunflower has been found allopathic to groundnut under intercropping situations. So when we grow sunflower and groundnut in the intercropping, sunflower will produce some kind of chemicals that are harmful for the groundnut, and it will destroy the groundnut crop. Next is crop residue of lentils or phytotoxic to wheat and of mustard to sweet potato. So when these lentils are decayed, or that crop residues remained in the wheat crop, that remains of lentils will produce some kind of chemicals that will be phytotoxic to wheat, and it will inhibit the growth and development of wheat crop. And next example is when crop residues of mustard are left over in the crop, that crop residues will also produce allelochemicals that will directly affect the growth and development of the sweet potato. And also sorghum is allelopathic to wheat and sweet potato to cowpea. So when you grow sorghum and wheat together, sorghum produce some kind of allelochemicals that are harmful for the growth and development of the wheat. And also when you grow sweet potato and cowpea together, similarly sweet potato will also produce allelochemicals that are toxic for the growth and development of the cowpea. Next is sources of allelochemicals. So what are the sources from where we can get these allelochemicals? The first is stem, second is roots and rhizome, and third is leaves and flowers, and the fourth is fruits and seeds. So chemical nature of the allelochemicals. So what is the chemical nature of the allelochemicals? First is usually secondary plant products. So allelochemicals are mainly secondary metabolites released by the plants, and they come in the group of phenylpropanes or terpenoids or acetogenins or alkaloids or steroids. Next is liberation of allelochemicals. So how can these allelochemicals be liberated or released from the plants? So the first procedure is volatilization, second is leaching, third is exudation, fourth is withering, and the fifth is seed leachates. So here we can see the picture that is representing the release of allelochemicals. So the first procedure is washing off by rainfall. So when these allelochemicals are present on the leaves or the stem, with when the rainfall occurs, washing away of these allelochemicals can be done, or release of volatile compounds. So when you find that allelochemicals on the root or on the leaf or either on the stem, due to the temperature subarid, arid or semi-arid situations, there may be a chance of volatilization of these allelochemicals. And the third procedure is decay of plant residues. So when plant residues are decayed, they're also able to produce some kind of allelochemicals. And the fourth is root exudate. So here in this picture, you can see that here roots are producing some kind of allelochemicals. So next we are coming to the procedure of volatilization. Here volatilization mainly occur in the arid and semi-arid environment, and volatilization of allelochemicals will be done only by terpenoid groups. So terpenoid group allelochemicals are released through volatilization, and these are released from special glands on stem and leaves. So on stems or leaves, this can be found, and special glands are present. They can be volatile through that special glands. Next is susceptible plants observed through cuticle directly from air or adsorbed and dry soil and taken up. So plants which are susceptible to volatile, they can be directly absorbed by the air, or They can be adsorbed. Adsorbed means stick on the dry soil and then taken out. Next is leaching. So leaching can be either done through aqueous solution. That means when rain comes, it can go, or with the help of the dew also. Next is mature leaves are more susceptible. So when mature leaves contains these kind of allelochemicals, leaching is the more possible way. Next is exudation, metabolites excluded from roots to surrounding surfaces. Potential source of allelopathic effect. So root exudates are the potential sources of allelopathic effect. Means allelopathic chemicals are more released only through the root exudates. And metabolites present in that root part can be easily uh, released to the surrounded atmosphere. Next is decomposition. So when leaves or the stubbles are decomposed, they can also produce some kind of allelochemicals that are harmful. And another possible way is by weathering procedure, and also when microorganisms decay or decompose, they also produce some kind of allelochemicals. Next is allochemical extraction from plants. So how can we extract allochemicals from plants? So as we already know some of the examples of the allelopathic plants like sorghum, so like parthenium, alfalfa, wheat, cowpea, mustard, any of that you can take, and you have to grow that plant up to the complete harvest mature stage, and then you have to harvest that plant, and then you have to dry that, and then you have to store under a shade to avoid possible leaching by rainwater. As you already know, allochemicals can be leached with the help of the rainwater. So in order to avoid that, you need to uh, harvest that first, and then you need to dry it and then store it under shade. And when the plant material is dried, then you need to chop it with the help of electric fodder cutter with 2 centimeter width or length. And then chopped plant material was soaked in distilled water for about 24 hours at room temperature. So room temperature is 21 degrees Celsius. So when you cut that into 2 centimeter species, 2 centimeter pieces, that plant material will be soaked in distilled water for about 24 hours. And you have to take that ratio of plant material as 1 and water as 10. So if you take 1 ratio of plant material, it should be, there should be 10 equal parts of water. And the soaked material is filtered through 10 and 60 meshes. So with the help of the sieves, that is either 60 or 10 you have to take that, and you have to filter that obtained plant material. And that extract should be boiled up to 100 degrees Celsius, and up to 20 times you have to filter that. And it can be used as a bioherbicide, and it is easy to kill other weeds. Next is development of herbicides from allelochemicals. So with the increased use of herbicides, weeds become resistant against these herbicides. So herbicide with new mode of action is needed today. So nowadays farmers are continuously using herbicides, and many of the weeds are becoming resistant against many herbicides. So there is a need of producing new kind of herbicides that will really work for the weeds. And various allelochemicals with herbicidal activity have been isolated from different crops. So in order to produce a new kind of herbicides, we can use allelochemicals that are extracted from the plants, and we can use as a bioherbicides. And mainly these allelochemicals are categorized into either phenol groups or terpenoid groups. And nowadays research has been done, and phenolic compounds are showing more allelopathic effect, and it is also showing potential against weeds. And it can also inhibit relationship between rhizobium and also legume. And these these are very natural kind of herbicides, and it is very safe to use. So it is giving us a greater opportunity to produce different kinds of herbicides from the allelochemicals, and it is also useful for the farmers, and it is also safer. And nowadays, one investigation has done, and a weed named Veronica persica that is showing a very effective herbicidal activity on other weed plants, and it can be also used as a safer herbicide. And leaf extract of Eucalyptus globulus, that is also used as a herbicide for the weeds like Lactua sativa and Agrostis stolonifera. For these two weeds, if you find in your crop, you can use the Eucalyptus globulus leaf extract. And eucalyptus leaf extract is also reducing the germination potential of these both the Lactua sativa and Agrostis stolonifera. And now allopathy and its uses in agriculture. So first is allopathy and crop nutrition. How is allopathy useful in crop nutrition? So allopathy nowadays plays a significant role in plant nutrition. So when these allochemicals are released into the atmosphere or into the rhizosphere means the root, the area where roots of the plants are located. So when these allochemicals are released into that rhizosphere, solubilization, mobilization, and release and chelation of mineral nutrients are regulated by these allochemicals. So allochemicals are regulating these mineral nutrients, and allopathy is also improving the nitrogen use efficiency. And it is also minimizing the nitrification rate so that we can also reduce the nitrogen losses. And allopathy offers an attractive and natural option to decrease nitrification by improving nitrogen use efficiency in agricultural systems. And it was given by Zabran et al. At 2013. So Zabran in 2013 investigated that allopathy is causing a greater impact on the crop nutrition by improving the nitrogen use efficiency. Next is allopathy in insect pest management. So allopathy is also helping in the insect pest management. Nowadays, synthetic insecticides are causing a negative impact on the environment and also human and animal health. So these impact is somewhat reduced by allopathy. Like azadactin, that is a chemical that is uh, extracted from the neem plant. So this is also used as an pesticide, natural pesticide. And neem seed oil, that is also allelochemical. Next is eucalyptus, that is also producing some kind of oils that is also useful for the insect pest management in the agriculture. And ethanol produced from California pepper trees or leaf extract imparts insecticidal effect on the elm leaf beetle. So ethanol produced from California peppers leaf extract, that is causing a reduction in the growth of elm leaf beetle. And Ambrosia trifida or Ageratum conizidis and Lantana camara, these three species of weeds are also having allopathic activity against weeds and other pests. So in this way, leaf extracts from different kinds of weeds are reducing the insect and pest infestation in crops. Next is allelopathy in disease management. So how is allelopathy helping in the disease management of plants? So nowadays, plant disease is a serious issue causing damage to many crops. Um, Chemical control is not very effective, and it is also very harmful to the environment. So another approach is allopathic crops. So for reducing disease intensity, allopathic crop can be intercropped with the main crop. For example, if we know one crop is affecting the other crop, that allopathic properties having plant can be grown along with that, and we can reduce the diseases. Next is intercropping of tomato with Chinese chive or Allium tuberosum inhibit the multiplication of bacterial wilt without any negative effect on the tomato. So we can grow in tomato along with Chinese chive, and bacterial wilt can be reduced. And marigold, when intercropped with tomato, that is also suppressing early leaf blight or early blight of tomato by Alternaria solani. And the neem leaves or neem cake applied to soil have a long-term effect on management of root node nematodes. So in order to reduce root node nematodes, you can use neem leaf cake, neem leaves or neem cake, or dried cabbage incorporated into the soil significantly reduce the cabbage pathogen. That is also used. Next is methanol, dimethyl sulfide and dimethyl disulfide from residues were suggested to have contributed to disease suppression. So dimethyl sulfide, dimethyl disulfide, these are also helped in the reduction of the diseases. Next is allochemical as growth regulators. How are allochemicals used as growth regulators? So in modern agriculture, role of plant growth regulators is very important. These are substances which are known to control plants' physiological and biological process at low temperatures. So juice from the fresh moringa can be used as a effective plant growth hormone. And also zeatin, which is source of cytokinin, has also been used as a growth promoter in case of agronomic and horticultural crops. And foliar application of extracts of different plants can also be useful or beneficial for other crops. Allochemicals in abiotic stress. So abiotic stress increases in daily mean temperature, changed patterns of precipitation, increase in episodes of drought and flood may pose threatens to crop production and food security in the future. So production of allochemicals at higher rates induces resistance in plants against stresses and helps them vigorously under such conditions. So when a plant is showing abiotic stress, so when they produce allochemicals at higher rates, that is also giving a resistance towards that biotic stress. And so plant can be able to survive and they can give better yield or production. And production of allochemicals is influenced by the age of the plant or type of stress and also intensity of the stress and surroundings. And for example, when drought resistant plants are exposed to drought condition, cyanogenic glycoside synthesis is enhanced. So these temperature fluctuations are also cause in the production rate of allochemicals. Next is what are the pros and cons of allelopathy? So in the garden, allopathy can have negative impact that halts plant development and seed germination. However, at the same time, allopathic plants can be thought of as natural weed killers, especially designed by nature. So first we'll see what are the pros of allelopathy. First is allopathic plants can be used to obtain natural herbicides or pesticides, as we already studied. Next is being a weed itself, it does not allow the growth of other weeds. So in weeds against weeds interaction, we can know this. And proper use of allelopathy can result in the reduced use of pesticides or herbicides. So if we know the proper method of extracting herbicides or extracting allelochemicals from the plants, we can use them as either pesticides or herbicides. And it can be also used for intercropping and crop rotation. So if one plant is having allopathic effect on the other, such type of plants can be selected and can be used for intercropping. Next is cons of allelopathy. Uh, it it is itself a weed and hence is unwanted. And growth of allelopathic plants is difficult to control. Allopathic plants prevent the growth of healthy organisms around them. And in the race of survival, it competes for resources. And if not handled properly, they may turn into invasive species. So these are all the uh, cons of allelopathy. Next is research on the allopathy in agriculture. So majorly the current research on allopathy in agriculture revolves around some following points. First is application of the known allopathic effects on agriculture production, like how this allopathy affects other plants. We have to do a research and we can choose the various allopathic crops and its impact on decreasing chemical pesticides intake. For example, neem oil or neem seed cake that can be used for pesticides for some of the pest. So we also need to do a research on this thing and we can use it in the future. And contribution of allopathy to reducing environmental pollution. So if we make pesticides or herbicides using allelochemicals, we can really uh, reduce the chemical usage and also we can reduce the chemical or environmental pollution. Or accessing the advantage and disadvantage of allopathy and the sustainable development of agriculture production and ecological system. So we need to also know what are the cons and what are the pros of the allopathy, and we can uh, use that in a sustainable way. And effective use of plant allopathy to increase crop productive and ecological sustainability through eco-friendly weed suppression, insect pest and plant diseases, conversion of nitrogen in croplands, and the production of novel chemicals based on allochemicals has drawn significant interest from scientists working on allopathic research. So, if we use allochemicals, it will become a very eco-friendly agriculture and usage of the nitrogen use efficiency can also be increased and also many agrochemicals can also be developed that will be useful for the uh, useful for the crops to increase their productivity and also ecological sustainability. And conclusion, the term allopathy is mainly viewed negatively, but if correctly managed, this phenomenon can be exploited for enhancing crop productivity. So, like increasing sustainability or eco-friendly agriculture and increasing the bioherbicides that can really help if we use the allopathy properly. And there are number of reports indicating that crop improvement in crop production due to allopathic interaction. So there are many nowadays, many persons are using allopathic crops that are helping in the crop production. And by using of biopesticides using allochemicals or bioherbicides using allochemicals, that is making us to use less chemical herbicides and helping in the disease and pest nutrient management of our crops. And sustainable agriculture is also achieved because of this allelopathy. And allopathic potential of the crop can be exploited by directly using allopathic interactions or indirectly by utilizing biochemicals as a biopesticide. And in order to improve uh, environmental health and ecological balance, uh, I think more research should be done on allelopathy and various allochemicals should be extracted and they can be used as a herbicide or weedicide or pesticide uh, so that we can reduce the chemical based herbicides or pesticide. Thank you.